Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into a hump day edition of the JP Peterson Show. We got lots going on. New additions to the set right behind me. Look at that classic Miami Dolphins helmet. Oh, my God, that is beautiful. That is beautiful, courtesy of Court Heitman, our CEO over here at CP Communications and RHS TV, which we are on now, globally available on your TV. Download the RHS TV app. You can watch us and all our past shows right there. So good morning to you. We got lots to get going today. Some great guests coming your way. We got Casey Hudson coming on with us at 10:45 to talk Bolts and her All-Star Weekend festivities there down in Fort Lauderdale, and talk some Bucs as well. James Petralka is coming on from Fox Sports. He says he wants to defend the officials. I said, you bring it, brother. That'll be fun. We can do that. And we'll all have some fun with a lot of different stuff. The Lightning with a big win last night in a shootout to take a couple of games from the defending champs. That's pretty cool. So we'll get into that. USF Stadium is on the build. The Rays are out on the field today, pitchers and catchers, and more stuff to talk about with the Bucs. So good morning to you, Nick Geddes. Good job holding down the fort yesterday, my friend. Well done.
Yeah, good morning to you. Welcome, but glad to have you back, though, because this show works better with two people than one person. No doubt about it. But I think we did okay yesterday.
I had some.
We did okay yesterday.
I had a project that I'm working on to do yesterday. Did you see my video I put up?
I did.
How about that?
I was a little bit envious of you.
It was one of the coolest things I've ever done. So we're working with an industrial construction firm, doing a video for them, which is somewhat top secret, but what we're doing. But what we got to do is shoot a 50 caliber machine gun at a ballistic wall, and it was unbelievable. It was a an M1919 Browning, basically the model they used in World War II, a 50 caliber machine gun. And man, and when you press the automatic fire, and these rounds are like this big that are going out, and you can feel the power of it, and you can it's pretty impressive. It's pretty damn impressive. So yeah, that's what I was doing yesterday. So it was kind of fun.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna lie about it.
Over here, we had to jump right in and go off the script a little yesterday because the Bucs OC search is a dumpster fire.
It is indeed.
It's the Titanic. It's whatever word you want to use. That's exactly what it is right now,
Yep.
and it remains that today, by the way.
Yeah, it does. Dave Canales is the next victim up, right? He's already interviewed.
Yes.
Virtually, but are they bringing him in for a real interview? Is this what I'm hearing?
I think they might, yeah.
Yeah, number 10 on the list.
Number 10.
Right. And so two coaches hired yesterday for the Cardinals. They get their man. And so now these coaching staffs will start being filled out, the Colts as well, as they pick apart the Eagles coaching staff. But so some more guys might be in the mix. And a name that's very interesting that we'll throw out here for the Buccaneer fans as red meat is Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy is now looking to maybe make a lateral move to become an offensive coordinator somewhere else and get out from under the very big shadow of Andy Reid and go prove, I guess, to other people that he can call plays and do things outside of having Patrick Mahomes as his quarterback and Andy Reid directing the offense. Because, I mean, we can watch the Super Bowl and every other game that Andy Reid coaches, and he's got the play sheet up to his face, and he's talking into the microphone, and so is Eric Bieniemy. And I was listening to Orlando Brown, Chiefs offensive tackle today. Dan Patrick asked him a very direct question. Is Eric Bieniemy calling the plays? His answer was anything but direct. It was like, well, kind of. Andy has a hand in it, and Eric, Bieniemy's calling it, and they work together and they collaborate. That's basically, I'm kind of generalizing what he said, but it was not, oh yeah, Eric calls the plays. Yeah, it's Eric. Andy puts in a game plan, then Eric calls the plays. It's him all on game day. It was not that. It was 100% not that. And so there's this weird thing about who's calling the plays, and so this has been the lifelong question: what's up with Eric Bieniemy? and he's interviewed for a lot of different jobs. The scuttlebutt is he doesn't interview very well. He does have some past history with some issues with personal behavior, but doesn't everybody, especially in this league? A lot of these guys that are getting hired for head coaching jobs, it's really no different than a lot of these other guys. But it's the great mystery, right? So, do the Bucs now interview Eric Bieniemy to be their offensive coordinator?
Well, if they want him, they're going to have to act fast, because I know he's going to be tomorrow here via Rappaport. He's going to be with the Commanders interviewing for that job. And I think he's their top candidate, along with Greg Roman, the former Baltimore coordinator. Yep. So if they do want him, they're going to have to act really fast here. But again, what are the Bucs really offering you right now? What are you really offering at the moment?
Kyle Trask.
Now you could say, here's the thing. You could say Washington, okay, what are they offering you quarterback wise? Because they're going to the offseason. They've been vocal about it. Sam Howell's their starting quarterback. What's the difference between him and Kyle Trask? In fact, Kyle Trask was a much higher draft pick than Sam Howell. The difference is I actually saw Sam Howell play in an NFL game.
Yeah, we could have seen that.
I think he won a game, if I'm not mistaken, against Dallas.
Yeah.
Right? He looked okay. There's more to go off of there, right?
Right.
Also, like the Bucs, a pretty good supporting cast there on offense.
Yeah.
I'd argue maybe the Bucs is better.
Yeah.
Right?
Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin. Talk about the Commanders.
Yeah, Jahan Dotson I thought was really good last year as a rookie. And then the two backs, Robinson and Gibson.
Yeah.
So I think that situation is a good one as well. You said it's a lateral move, though. Let me tell you, there is no such thing as a lateral move when you are going away from Andy Reid and going away from Patrick Mahomes and going away from Travis Kelce. It may be a lateral move in the sense that he's an OC, but it is not a lateral move. This is a
different situation.
This is a prove yourself move.
A much
go
different
1 or
situation.
2 years there, be successful, and then you get a head coaching opportunity.
Well, I mean, he could do the same thing here.
But I think he could do it here, though.
They could do the same thing here. And I think it's interesting. The offensive coordinator choice will certainly go far towards revealing what the Bucs are going to do at quarterback as well. And we talked about Hendon Hooker yesterday, and I went and looked at a little bit more tape from him yesterday.
Yeah,
and I haven't seen a lot of bad tape on this cat. He's really, really good. Now, obviously, does it translate to the NFL? That's the big question. And he's 6'4", 220. He's got a big arm. He's super accurate, almost 70% completion percentage last year, 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, just 2 interceptions. And I keep looking at this guy and I'm saying, well, and if the Bucs are not going after Derek Carr, which it looks like, and I thought you picked up on something that Cameron Jordan tweeted out. Tell me what he tweeted out. Tell the folks.
Yeah, Cameron Jordan. I don't usually see a player actually go out and say this, but
this is weird.
Last night he tweeted, "Hear me out. Great vet quarterback. Draft Hendon Hooker. Bring back David Onyemata and draft Jalen Carter somehow." And I mean, I took that. I mean, obviously he put great vet quarterback, but to me, like, is that Derek Carr then if you're drafting Hendon Hooker as well?
Yeah.
That doesn't really add up to me.
No.
So I was curious about that, but he's also being very cryptic because he also then posted a jersey swap of Derek Carr in a Saints uniform.
Yeah, because he probably, if you're drafting Hendon Hooker, you're not signing Derek Carr long term.
At least that's what you would think. So I think Cameron Jordan was just kind of all over the place last night.
Yeah.
And then he said, "All right, I'm hopping off social after this one."
Yeah, because his general manager called him and said, "Shut the hell up.
Probably.
What are you doing?" Yeah, and look. And if you're the Bucs, let me ask you this. Would you rather start fresh with Hendon Hooker or would you rather sign Derek Carr?
I would rather start fresh.
Yeah. I think if you got a chance to get one of the better quarterbacks in the draft. And when I look at the tape of CJ Stroud and I look at Hendon Hooker and some of these other guys, you look for different things. And I just, the accuracy of Hendon Hooker strikes me. I don't want to say he's not to the Joe Burrow level, not there, but it's pretty damn good. It's pretty damn good. I want to look at more tape of him and study him even more because you got to look in certain situations. But I ask you to call up his numbers at Alabama. He threw for
395 yards and 5 touchdowns with a 226 passer rating
against Alabama.
Against Alabama.
Not too shabby. That's NFL competition, obviously, that he's going up against in terms of corners and safeties. And I know Alabama's defense wasn't maybe up to snuff that it's normally been, but it's still always really, really good and chock full of NFL players.
Yeah, and the Georgia game was I think, clearly the best team that he faced all year long. I think he completed 69% of his passes for 195 yards and a pick.
Yeah.
So not great. Obviously, they scored 6 points.
Yeah.
But that stat line to me is it's okay considering the opponent.
Yeah, I think it was raining too or something. I got to go back and look at the tape. You can't stat lines, they're helpful, but you got to look at the whole thing. So I think if you're the Bucs, this is really kind of a turning point, a linchpin of where you're going. And it looks like this is, nobody wants to rebuild and tear it down to the studs. Certainly not most of the players on the Buccaneers team. And they don't necessarily have to do that with the cap going up and some of the cap space that they can create. But that the linchpin is the quarterback situation. What do? Do you draft the quarterback? Now, Hendon Hooker will likely be there at 19. Everybody's projecting him to go. Some people have said 3rd and 4th round. I don't see that. And as this process goes forward, I don't think that's going to happen because there's too many teams that need quarterbacks at this point. Mm-hmm. And I look at CJ Stroud. I look at Bryce Young. Obviously, and Bryce Young scares me just because of his size. He's so slight. He's very Tua-esque in that. And you watch Bryce Young play, and he's phenomenal. His escapability, his accuracy, the way he throws the football. But it's so hard for these Alabama quarterbacks. I watch their tape, and their pocket is just ridiculous. There's nobody around them. I can play quarterback.
Do you consider Jalen Hurts an Alabama quarterback or an Oklahoma quarterback? Mind you, his best season was with Oklahoma. But the bulk of it was at Alabama. Yeah,
I mean that's why I'm saying I'm not saying that they're bad quarterbacks. What I'm saying is it's hard to evaluate them because in the NFL you're playing in a phone.
And this is what we did with Tua, correct?
Right,
we
exactly.
Did the same thing.
Yeah. When you're 6 foot, 5'11", and you have a big pocket around you. And you could step up and you can move around. There's space to move in. You can find throwing lanes. It's a little bit easier. When you're in the NFL, it's more of a phone booth. There aren't as many, for a smaller quarterback, there aren't as many throwing lanes, right? Yeah. Because they rush with integrity. They're much better. They're bigger. They're faster. So it's tougher for smaller guys. Now, does that translate? I mean, to me, I still want a guy who's 6'4" and can stand and look over the top and players can see the ball come out. It's not just the quarterback being able to see down the line. It's receivers being able to see where the quarterback is and see the ball coming out. If you're like, for instance, when I was at training camp and I'm watching Tua and you're at ground level and you get a pretty good perspective of what the receiver sees, right? Now, when Jalen Waddle was running kind of a deep end, you're looking back at the quarterback, and that ball just kind of comes out of a group of people. You can't even see the ball. You can't see the top of Tua's head. It's just, this ball just comes out and it's coming at you. You can't read the timing of when he's winding up and where he's going with the football. It's kind of hard. Now, when you have a Tom Brady or a Hendon Hooker, a guy that's 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", you see the ball, you see his head, you can see where he's looking, you see the whole thing. So it affects a lot of different things, not just being able to see downfield. So, Bryce Young's an incredibly talented quarterback, but he's going to have to get in the right system where they can get him on the move and get him some throwing lanes.
Which is what I really hate that, though, because I feel for Bryce Young that he's going to have to carry this now because of his size, something that's so out of his control. Mm-hmm. Because I hear I've been watching a lot of people that are kind of scouting him, and they're saying that if he was literally 6'1", we're talking about a generational type quarterback, no questions asked. He's the top pick. I mean, he's been the number one player in high school.
Silly, yeah.
He was number one player in high school. He was the number one player in college.
Yeah.
He lived up to that billing in every big game that he played in, right?
Yep.
He's got everything to back it up, the Heisman, everything. And then now we're going to nitpick his size.
It's a different game.
I know, but I feel like the game now, though, is changed a bit where it's easier.
Well, it's easier for
let's be honest, for the smaller quarterbacks like Kyler
question.
Murray, even though Kyler Murray, we're unsure about up here what's going on.
Right.
There's talent there.
Oh my God.
And I don't think the size has let him down in the NFL. Tua, you can make the argument, okay, well, he has all the head injuries, but that to me is not really a size thing. I think if you look at when he's played, he's actually been really good, and the Dolphins win games.
Yeah.
I mean, those are just a couple examples of guys that are smaller. Russell Wilson, obviously, and Drew Brees are the most famous examples. I kind of set them aside because they're the outliers in NFL history. But I think it's easier to make that transition now, and I just don't want to nitpick a guy that to me has proven it on the field his entire career.
One of the things about Tua that's interesting is you look at his concussions. 2 of his concussions have been when he's been taken and thrown down. Right, thrown on the back of his head. And I think it's, we're getting into a lot of physical characteristics here, but, you don't necessarily see a Jalen Hurts or a Justin Fields or a Josh Allen get thrown backwards, when kind of ragdolled, because they're freaking huge human beings, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're just bigger and they can control how they fall, where they fall. I mean, anything can happen, obviously, in the NFL, but I don't know. I think that's when I look at Hendon Hooker, I see a big, strong, and he's a little thin. Don't get me wrong, but I think he needs to build into it a little bit more. I'm going to do more research on it, but I think that's what the Buccaneers are looking at. Is what are we going to do? Or do we think there's a quarterback in this draft that we can get that we really believe can be our future? And if that's at 19, you freaking take him. Obviously, you freaking take him. Jordan. Let's see what Jordan Gomillion has to say. Screw getting a quarterback. Cut Smith and get left tackle. Then round 2 and 3, get good guard depth and load up in the offensive line for years to come. It's not flashy, but it's a necessity before drafting top quarterback. Well, I always agree about building up the offensive line, but I got to remind you, Jordan, we don't have a quarterback. It's an important position. We don't have a quarterback. Okay. You got to have the guy. And if you think you can get the guy at 19, and there's plenty of examples of good quarterbacks going after the first 5 picks.
I was going to say, I'll give you an example. I did an exercise this morning about quarterbacks drafted in the top 5, because everybody thinks, okay, if you're not in the top 5, you're not in the top 10, you're not going to get the quarterback. And that's incorrect. Since the turn of the century, so 2000, there have been 31 quarterbacks drafted in the top 5. By my count, you can make the argument that 9 of them have hit. 9 of them.
9 out of 31.
9 out of 31. And then you can make arguments for Carson Palmer's and the Alex Smiths and obviously Kyler Murray. But the ones who have absolutely hit, have gone on to have really good careers, especially with those teams that have drafted them, 9 out of 31.
Yeah.
It's not a successful hit rate there.
Not as successful as you would think.
Not as you would think.
Yeah.
So for everybody that's concerned that maybe the Bucs are not inside the top 5 or they're not in the top 10, they can't get one of these guys, I got news for you. More than likely, 2 of those top 3 guys are not going to pan out.
Yeah.
Because history tells me so.
And history also tells me I would say, and I have to go back and look at this, but I would say maybe one quarterback in every draft comes outside the top 15, 20 and becomes a good quarterback. The Jalen Hurtses of the world.
Who was the best rookie quarterback this year?
Brock Purdy.
Yeah. Draft pick number 262.
Yeah. Mr. Irrelevant.
Who was the number of all the quarterbacks that played in 2021, right? That were all drafted in the first round. Who had the best rookie year? It was Mac Jones. He was the 5th one picked.
Yeah. He was and that was 16?
That was 15.
15. Yeah.
So
yeah, it's much more about what team you go to and who's your coach and what's happening. But the Bucs, again, they have a lot of question marks right now. A ton of question marks. Who's going to be the OC? Who's going to be, and Canales may be, that's the guy that revitalized Geno Smith.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what they're looking for. We're going to bring in a Baker Mayfield. We're going to bring in, what you would call a retread, who maybe hasn't had the best situations coming up, and we want you to work him and make him the next Geno Smith. So that could be, or do they find somebody that they feel is a good teacher for a young quarterback? And, by the way, having Bruce Arians in the building, and Tom Moore also re-signed his contract, so he's coming back at age 84. Having those guys in the building is going to be a tremendous resource in teaching this new quarterback, whoever that quarterback is going to be, whether it's going to be Kyle Trask or Hendon Hooker.
But also too, I will say I don't disagree with Jordan's point, and actually, I actually tend to agree with him there. I don't know if the Bucs are going to draft a quarterback in the first round. In fact, I think it's more likely they don't. Look at the blueprint that we've been talking about the Eagles. Where are they the strength at least going into the Super Bowl? Defensive line, offensive line.
Yep.
The Bucs, when they were rolling, they had a great offensive line. The previous 15 years, did the Bucs ever have a good offensive line?
Not great.
And this was quarterback quarterback purgatory every single year.
No, I'm all investing in the offensive line.
I'm all good for that, and defensive line as well, because I think that's where they struggled the most this year.
Yeah,
is those two areas.
I think edge rusher. I don't know why people aren't talking about edge rusher. You got to have a great edge rusher to win in this league, and
they got a lot of needs.
Yeah, they got a lot of needs, and even if you say, well, Shaq Barrett's coming back, okay, great. But coming off an Achilles at age 31, he's not the future. He's certainly not the future, right? So you got to get a good young edge rusher as well. But the bottom line is, if you think Hendon Hooker is going to be a good quarterback in the NFL and he's available at 19, you got to take him. When it comes to that, the quarterback is still the most important part of this. Now, if you don't feel Hendon Hooker's that guy, then absolutely you go draft a left tackle or a right tackle or a wide or another number one wide receiver or a cornerback or an edge rusher. I mean, you draft the best guy. You have lots of needs at key positions. You draft the best guy available, but do never, ever, 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 ever forget that the quarterback position is the number one position, and you don't have one. And if you think that Hendon Hooker could be that guy, then you better go take him. You better go to, or maybe there's somebody else in the draft. Past Hendon Hooker, I don't see anybody that I would certainly use a first round or a second round pick on, to be quite honest. So I think it begins and ends with him, who will be available.
It becomes down to if you want to go that route or the other route, and it's really the only other route is go Kyle Trask in the bridge quarterback. I mean, because I feel like we've kind of, I don't know how you feel really about Kyle Trask, but I know that I've kind of set him aside right now,
right.
And he's my last option, right? But I understand that it is getting more and more likely because of what the Bucs are going to have to face this year. And I mean, taking on all the $35 million of Tom Brady, it seems like that scenario, which I thought was the bottom scenario, in my opinion, is starting to come up a little bit. And you might have Kyle Trask with a bridge quarterback and see what you have there and then play for 2024. So I've set him aside at this point, but where does he factor in this whole thing as well?
Well, I still think the door is open for Kyle Trask. I mean, you heard what Bruce Arians was, saying at the Super Bowl about Kyle Trask, that he thinks he's still very much in the hunt and could be a good quarterback in this league. And that's Bruce Arians saying that. Now, he may also be putting out some smoke about what the Bucs' real plans are. And I don't, and I heard you say yesterday, because I listened to what you said yesterday, that, the Bucs told you all you needed to know about Kyle Trask in that last game by not playing him. I think that was way more about Tom Brady wanting to play, and I don't know what the hell they were doing with Blaine Gabbert. That was just silly. To me, that's more coaching incompetence than anything else. It just made no sense whatsoever in a meaningless game to have Tom Brady play and to let Blaine Gabbert play. Now, it could also mean that they don't think, it makes no sense whatsoever what they did in that particular set vis-a-vis the quarterback. And I don't think there's a GM on this planet right now that was, if he was in Jason's shoes, would not want a full game of Kyle Trask tape to look at and having him getting ready for a whole week against the Atlanta Falcons. That would have been as we said at the time, a tremendous piece of intelligence to have as we sit here today wondering if Kyle Trask can be an NFL quarterback. It wouldn't have been the end all be all for me, like, oh, he sucked, he's never going to do it. But you would have, every play, and that's just what we're watching. From a Bucs standpoint, was he good at getting the plays in? Was he good at reading the defenses? Was he seeing the field? Was there so many things that you could have seen over a whole game that would have helped you so much in this moment of deciding whether he's the guy? He could have come out there and lit it up, and we'd all be sitting here going, damn, Trask is a gamer, just like college. You put him in there in the games and he plays great, right? But we didn't have a chance to see that. So another missed opportunity for this coaching staff and another blunder, in my opinion. But we just don't know. That's the problem. We don't know. The guy lit it up in college. He lit up the SEC. Big freaking numbers. He's a big kid. He's got an arm. He can move. Is it a great arm? I don't know. From what I see in practice, it's pretty good. It's not great, but he's throwing with Tom Brady, and Blaine Gabbert's got a cannon, still does. And you look at the three of them throw, at least from my eye, it's Brady on the deep out. It's a little bit more arc from, and then a little bit more arc from Trask. So I'd put him at number 3, but those are two pretty damn good arms ahead of him still.
Yeah, I get that. It's just when you go back and look at some of the tape in Florida, I still think there's just not enough zip for me.
Okay.
That's just me. I don't see.
And he was working with Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney, and I think they got an inordinate amount of the targets. So you can put up big numbers when you have elite NFL talent like that, even in the SEC. and running an offense with a guy, Dan Mullen, who knows how to call plays and knows how to score points.
It's that, and as I said yesterday too, I can't get over the fact that in 2 years of working in this offense, I shouldn't say this offense, the Arians offense, in 2 years, and I understand maybe he wasn't throwing to the ones. I get all that. I've heard every counter argument for this, but I can't get over the fact that in 2 years of working on this system, that he hasn't been able to not even master it, but I don't even know how much of a grasp he really got of it. And I feel like he's been a slow learner his entire
Well, what were you
going to
do?
Time.
Like say, oh, Trask, we're working to develop Trask instead of giving Brady more reps to get the. It was all about Brady, man. It wasn't even about developing Trask whatsoever.
But again,
that's why you can't really judge anything on that, in my opinion.
But I have to judge what I have to, though. I have to. I can't just throw out 2 years. All right, he was just sitting here because we had Tom Brady, so I can't judge anything that we have off of the guy. No, there's such thing as practice, and I feel like if he was lighting it up in practice, he had to have been thrown to the same guys that Blaine Gabbert was. Why was Blaine Gabbert way better than him in practice?
Do we know that?
I think the Bucs have told you that.
No, they just told you that they'd rather have a more experienced guy as Brady's back.
I've listened to people that were at practice. You've been at practice. Yeah. Who's been better at practice? Who was better at practice?
Gabbert looked great. And Trask at times looked great. And then at other times, not so good. So Gabbert was more, he's more experienced. He's definitely, if you got those three guys on the depth chart, he's always going to be your backup quarterback because he's been there, done that, So Jeremy Lowe says Brian Johnson called the plays at OC.
Yeah, the Eagles quarterback coach. Well, at one point we thought was going to be a contender for the Bucs OC job, but because the Eagles just lost their OC and their DC, you would have to think Brian Johnson is just going to be promoted to the Eagles offensive.
Oh, is he talking about at Florida?
Yeah, he was at Florida before he went to Philadelphia. So that's why there was a lot of connections there because he coached Kyle Trask. He's a quarterback coach. Hey, make him the OC. But now he's probably just going to get promoted as the Eagles OC now.
Dan Mullen wasn't calling the plays in 2020?
No. It was Brian Johnson.
I thought Dan Mullen was play caller.
No. It was Brian Johnson.
Well, that's the old Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, Bruce Arians, the Byron Leftwich deal, right? Yeah. Who's calling the plays? We don't know. We know who's offense. Josh Heupel. We know whose offense it is, right?
Jordan was making that point here about Hendon Hooker, actually, about how much do we know if it's. Here it is. Hooker had 2 good years under Josh Heupel. He was below average at Virginia Tech. So is it coaching and system or is it talent?
And you all could also say is it coaching and system at Virginia Tech.
Because
that's been a revolving door.
I feel like I can speak to the Heupel offense pretty well because I covered it. That offense worked with Mackenzie Milton. It worked with Dylan Gabriel. It worked with some guy that y'all have probably never heard of, Dario Mack, who actually had to play quarterback in that Fiesta Bowl against LSU. It has worked with every quarterback that Josh Heupel has put in that system. I will put that out there. It has.
Yeah.
So is there a little bit of an element of risk there? Of course there is. Same how there's an element of risk with USF having Alex Golesh, right? Mm-hmm. Because he's been around Josh Heupel. So there's risk with all these things, but at some point you got to take it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just when I watch Hooker play, there are open guys. He hits them. The scheme is the scheme, right? You scheming guys open, you hit them.
Yeah.
When he has to make a big throw in a tight coverage situation, makes a great throw time and time again. So I don't necessarily, I'm not looking at the numbers to say, oh, he's a great quarterback, because I think the system sometimes dictates the numbers. Yeah. Whereas I'm looking at the throw, when the trail defensive back is, a half a step behind a guy and he's running the deep out and you throw the ball right on the boundary line for that's a big time throw.
Yeah, I saw NFL throws from Hendon Hooker all year long. And here's the other thing to consider too. When you make the argument of, okay, well, look at where the Bucs are kind of getting their offensive coordinator, but their offensive coordinator is going to come from. It's going to be somebody who's never had called plays, experience. Yeah. Are you putting a quarterback like that in a good position, or even Trask for that matter in a good position? I'm almost looking at it as in the year after this year, because I'm assuming if things go south that Todd Bowles would be fired, and then this whole staff, even the one that he brings in, you would have to think would be a 1-year thing,
right?
So I'm almost thinking like, okay, who's going to be working with? I'm thinking about the next guy that he's going to be working with more so than the one that he's going to be working with this year.
Yeah,
I know it's kind of weird to say, but I feel like you almost have to think of it like that.
Sure.
Because I don't think any of whoever they bring in, I just don't think based on the way we think the Bucs season is going to go. And of course, there's a long time. We've got a long ways to get there. But the way we feel right now that it's going to go, I don't think any of the staff will be here then.
And the other, and that's an interesting part of this too, because that's another dynamic. Do you want to draft a quarterback now with a coaching staff
Correct.
that may not be developing that quarterback,
or a general manager, because we don't know if Jason what's his job security, and then you have two quarterbacks drafted then on the roster by Jason Now you got a new GM coming in that said, I didn't draft these guys.
Right.
So you kind of have to play all these games in your head a little bit, but then again, Jason not going to play those games. Which is,
if you're the owners, it's like, why aren't you just moving ahead with the new staff? And why didn't you do that from the very get-go? Everything seems convoluted. Like there's no clear direction. You're kind of hoping Todd Bowles becomes a better head coach, despite 5 years. Despite 5 years of evidence that suggests he's probably not. You hoping that given he can pick his staff, that this will he'll become a better game manager. He'll be able to make more hard decisions on firing guys when they're clearly not getting the job done in midseason, or firing players who are clearly not getting the job done. There were so many things we've talked about ad nauseum. As much as we love Todd Bowles as a head coach, I think he diminished himself as a defensive coordinator and didn't really perform well as a head coach. I think I don't think that's a conclusion that's arguable, to be quite honest, when you look at how this team played. So, what are we doing? It just comes back to that. What are we doing? What is the direction? It's not like, okay, we're drafting this guy, we're building around this guy. This is the right OC for this guy. This is the right head coach for this guy. Everybody's on the same page. It's like, okay, we're going to hold on to Todd Bowles, but get rid of most of the offensive coaching staff, except a couple of guys who were involved in the run game, which was the worst in the history of the NFL. But we're going to keep those guys. The rest of the guys are gone. We're going to bring in a new quarterback, maybe. Not sure if it's going to be a veteran, or we're going to go with Kyle Trask, or we're going to maybe draft a quarterback, and then we're going to have an OC that we're going to hire before we draft. What are we doing? What are we doing? Like, what are we doing? See what I'm saying? It's just all convoluted. None of this is like a clear path, that leads, like it's a pyramid that, okay, one thing stacks logically on top of the other.
I don't think the Bucs know.
None of that
exists. The Bucs
exists.
don't know what they're doing.
They don't.
They have no idea what they're doing.
All we can do is really kind of look at the pieces that they're bringing in and what they're doing. You don't necessarily listen to what they say, but what they're doing. And all of it just suggests it's a bunch of hodgepodge of what?
I think for start, it starts with this whole offensive coordinator search, which has been open. It's been open now for over 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And we haven't been able to get it. There's a lot of people that have stepped up to the plate to interview.
Right.
But all of them have told the Bucs no. I was listening. I'm sure we'll have Scott on here soon to talk about it. But obviously, he has a good relationship with Todd Monken. I was listening to his podcast yesterday, and he said he texted Monken, and similar to the feedback that you got, he just said, it was just too much to pass up.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson, the Ravens.
Well, and he wasn't coming.
He wasn't coming here with the quarterback
without
situation.
without a quarterback.
It's kind of the same thing that Scott had said yesterday.
Yeah. So, we told you that last week or a week and a half ago that he's not coming here because he doesn't know who the quarterback is.
And I think for starters, the Bucs did not think, and maybe this is foolish on their part, but they did not think that this search was going to be this exhausting and that it wasn't going to be this desirable of a job. I don't think they saw it coming, frankly.
I got to tell you, that's not smart, because everybody in the league knows that Todd Bowles is a lame duck. And listen, I think the Glazers want to give him another shot. A year. I think, was it Jason Light that said, listen, let's give him a chance to hire his own offensive coordinator and see what they can do. That seems like a fair thing to do. It does. But here's the big but. When you isolate that decision, right? Okay, that seems fair. Okay, he didn't have a chance to hire. All right, fine. But what does that lead to? It leads to everybody else in the league knowing that he's a lame duck, that he's got 1 year to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And you look at the team and you're like, you look at Todd Bowles and is he really going to become in year 6, this great head coach who it's a tough, where have we seen that before?
Yeah.
Where have we seen that before?
I think in general, the NFL right now is telling you that they don't believe in Todd Bowles as a head coach.
Right.
You can even take it further. For everybody that wanted to say the Bucs were in the wrong for firing Byron Leftwich, if he was such a great offensive mind and everybody loved Byron Leftwich, then why doesn't he have a job right now?
And look at how many offensive coordinator positions are open.
Yeah, and how many teams in the NFL have interviewed Byron Leftwich this year? I don't think I got one. I think he's interviewed for the Notre Dame offensive head coordinator job, and that's it.
As far as I
college.
know, that's it.
So again, I think the NFL, and I don't think there's been any other guys that the Bucs have fired also, other than Lori Locust, who I think got a job somewhere.
Mhm.
Other than her, I don't think anybody else that got fired. So I think the NFL has kind of told you itself what they think about the Bucs coaching staff to begin with, and I think that includes Todd Bowles because nobody wants to work under him.
Right. It's a situation where are you going to move? You're going to hitch your wagon, even if you're Eric Bieniemy. You've been waiting for an opportunity, and you're going to go, oh, I'm going to go to Tampa where we don't know who the quarterback is, and whoever we get is either going to be a rookie or a cast-off, a retread. It's not going to be, doesn't look like it's going to be Derek Carr. I mean, that's not, you're sinking your own ship
It's
at
not
that
desirable, but I think
point.
it's
It ain't
what
working
it's,
with Pat Mahomes
no,
and
it's
Andy
not.
Reid.
But if Eric Bieniemy wants to get to the next level, and that's being a head coach, that's what he's going to have to do regardless.
Yeah, but you're sinking your own ship though by going to a situation like that. The situation here, I mean, what's going to make you attractive as a head coach? And even if you, I guess if you turn Kyle Trask into an all-pro, people are going to jump all over you. What are the chances of that happening? You feel strongly about that? You feel strongly about reviving Baker Mayfield's career? You feel strongly about, getting Jacoby Brissett to the all-pro status with Todd Bowles as the head coach who wants to run the football? I mean, it's just not conducive. None of this is just conducive to what I would say is a dynamic offense. So the Bucs got a lot of work to do, and when you're in the NFL, you need all these things to line up. You doing it piecemeal and hodgepodge does not work, and that looks like where the Bucs are now. They could turn it around. They may be working on a strategy that in a month we go, okay, that looks good. That looks really good. So you went and got this guy, and you got this guy, and this piece fits, and that piece fits, and you were just waiting for. You had this under your hat all the time, and it came together.
Yeah,
it's entirely possible. But as we sit here today, having to do a 2-hour show and looking at what the Bucs are doing, it's a disaster.
yeah. I don't think it's too far-fetched to say that of all the years Jason Licht has been here, I think this is his stiffest test yet.
Yeah.
And I mean, I say that because you looked at what he inherited, and it was awful. And there were a lot of awful Bucs teams during the first part of his tenure, to the point where many thought that he was going to get fired in the first place.
Right.
Probably before he got Tom Brady in the building. But this scenario where he's in right now, where you got one quarterback on the roster that's unproven, you got a draft pick that, even though I made the point about the quarterbacks, it's not typically
where you find the best,
where you would at least probably take that chance on somebody. 19 is an interesting spot. And there might not be a guy there that you even want to take at 19. I think that goes into it as well. So that's kind of interesting. And then you have a multitude of star players who have all made Pro Bowls who need contracts coming up soon. And you're in cap hell. And you are having to pay $35 million for your quarterback who just retired. This is a lot to maneuver around right now for Jason Licht. So, I mean, I'm not jealous of Jason Licht's job right now, because I don't know if I'd want that.
No.
Now, he's a smart guy. He's got a lot of smart people around them. So if we're going to trust in some kind of staff to do it and figure this out, it's going to be this one. But I think it's still the stiffest job that he's had since he's been here in Tampa Bay.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back on the other side, and Casey Hudson's going to join us, and we'll get some thoughts from her on the Bolts win last night as they beat the Colorado Avalanche twice in 5 days. This one at shootout. She was also at the All-Star game having some fun with all the folks down there. We'll get some thoughts on that and this Bucs discussion. What are the Bucs going to do? Stay with us. Quick break. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. I've known Scott Jeeves for quite some time, and he's just like us, a huge college football fan. He loves his Gators. In fact, he sponsors our Gator Report every Thursday at 11 o'clock with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. But he's not just another PI attorney. He is a ferocious advocate for his clients. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator practicing in Tampa Bay for over 30 years. He is an AV preeminent rated civil trial lawyer and certified circuit court mediator. Folks, these designations are not just given out. They're given only to the best trial attorneys. But more than anything, Scott takes these cases personally. I've heard it from his clients. He's a fighter you want on your side. Insurance companies hate it when they see you're represented by Jeeves. He's just different. 727-894-2929 or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. That's JEEVES lawgroup.com and tell them JP sent you. Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or ItalianoInsurance.com. Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, one unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida. Hey, folks, it's still engagement season, and where better to get that special ring than the Gold and Diamond Source. The Gold and Diamond Source has the largest selection of engagement rings in the country, a literal jewelry super center with 30 times the inventory of any normal jeweler. You don't have to wait to spend any extra time waiting for them to bring something in. They have everything right there in-house, so why go anywhere else? And you can get up to 15% off this January if you buy something with the birthstone, which is garnet. Garnet and gold, Florida State, get something for your favorite Seminole. And let's not forget the Emily collection from Emily Johnson Weintraub. Very affordable, real gold and diamond jewelry, always stylish and unique. Emily has created this fashion-forward gold, diamond, and gemstone jewelry line ideal for everyday wear. Each piece is designed to enhance your look by featuring eye-catching, modern geometrical shapes. Really unique stuff. Got to check it out. And, of course, Julie and Steve Weintraub, great benefactors here in the local community. So let's keep it local. And you can get 0% financing for up to 5 years. Get a big ring for a little price. It's the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. If you have been involved in an accident, you want them on your side. Aggressive attorneys, insurance companies hate to see them coming. Also, if you've had your car totaled in an accident and you did not get what you think you deserved, which you probably did not, give them a call. That's something they specialize in and can get you some money. So go to the JeevesLawGroup.com, get the information on their website, and contact them through the website. Free call when you call them. So not only looks like the Bucs are not going after Derek Carr or missed out on him, he's become now a free agent. So he can now talk to anybody he wants. As we told you, he's not gonna accept a trade anywhere because how stupid were the Raiders, by the way? You could have got I'm convinced you could have got at least a 2 for Derek Carr, if not a 1. You could have. With all the teams that need quarterbacks right now, you could have. I'm telling you.
But Derek Carr had to accept a trade.
Yes, but he would, by benching him, you pissed him off, right? If you and you disrespected him dramatically.
So you're saying they shouldn't have benched him in the first place.
You ruined his trade value.
Yeah.
You ruined his trade value. It's so stupid.
Well, again,
if that's what you
the
wanted,
Raiders.
if that's what you wanted to do, you play him and you build him up and you tell everybody that you got him coming back next year and you're excited and you call plays to let him throw the ball to him. You build up his trade value. And then you start leaking out to teams, hey, he may be available. We got, and everybody would know, oh, they're bringing in Aaron Rodgers, so they got to get rid of Carr. Let's go get him.
There are 4 franchises that I never
So
trust that I never trust to do right by quarterbacks or anything in general.
So dumb.
It's the Bears, the Browns, the Jets, and the Raiders. I grouped those 4 in historically.
Yeah.
They at least in my lifetime, they never do things the right way.
Yeah, like Michael Hall just said, the Raiders lost all the leverage once they benched him. So stupid. Like, why would you do that? It's amazing. People that are entrusted with some of these jobs of general managers. And by the way, that probably sounds more like a Mark Davis thing. That sounds like the owner said, just bench him. I don't want to see him again. Well, we really can't do that. I don't care. Just bench him. Well, we want to keep his trade. Shut up. Just bench him.
Do you think Mark Davis even knew who Jarrett Stidham was?
Probably not.
I don't think so.
Probably not. But that's got to be one of the all-time ridiculous, stupid-ass moves. But it's what bad organizations do. Right now, it looks like a rudderless situation out there. And right now, what's going on in Tampa Bay, I just don't understand what they're doing and what the plan is. Maybe Casey Hudson knows. Let's go to Casey Hudson, who works with the Pewter Report, with the Bucs and the Bolts and everything. What's up, Casey? How are you?
Hi, guys. It's going well. Just trying not to be bogged down by allergies. So if my voice cuts out, everyone forgive me.
Sorry,
yeah, it hit me hard after All-Star Week, so no surprise there.
So I'm going to tell you something that I heard from a very good source, and it's so good I forget who it is, but it made sense to me. Somebody who had lifelong allergies. They said, go to a local honey shop, and maybe you've done this. Get local honey, because the bees, obviously, they're working at all the local birds and the flowers, and they pollinate and they do all this stuff, right? They're with all the different.
I see what you're saying.
So you go and they said, I started this as a natural home remedy. You take a couple of teaspoons of local honey, it has to be locally grown honey, and you kind of, after a while, it lets you it builds up immunity within your system to all the allergens, and within like 2 weeks, you don't have any allergies, at least in your local area.
That sounds like something that I will have to try.
Because
I've been fine for the most part, but the minute the wind kicks up and it feels like it hit a little early this year, then I'm a goner. And then I start getting immune to Zyrtec and Claritin and all the things.
Right,
so
yeah.
that would be a nice new try for me. But all the honey, all the tea.
I mean,
and all the things.
And what's bad about taking honey, eating honey? Who doesn't like to eat honey? That's fantastic.
Nothing.
On a little nice toast. Well, honey toast is fantastic. All right, so let's first of all, I want to go back to the NHL All-Star game because we talked to you while you were down there. It looked like an amazing weekend. It looked like you had so much fun. What were some of the highlights?
Oh my gosh. Well, obviously it was worth losing my voice at first. That's initially what got me in this situation. But it was just really cool to be around the top of the top in the NHL because we don't get to see them covering the Lightning. We see West Coast visitors here and there, and it's very quick and fleeting. And the last few times that certain guys have been in town, their top guys haven't even been listed to play that night. So it was just really cool to be around so many greats and just kind of see how many different elements there are to hockey or a game or a roster or a guy's skill set that we don't see. Not taking away from the skills that we get on the Lightning roster because I think they're one of the best in the league. But that was fantastic. And then the Atlantic won for the first time since the competitions changed that 3-on-3 format, which was awesome. So Vasilevsky, it was cool to see a lot more personality out of him, someone that we don't get to talk to after games, no matter what performance he puts up. Now I think it's like a joke that they even put his number on the board because we're not going to talk to him. But we got that time with him at All-Star Weekend, which was fantastic. And you could see he's come into his own a lot more. He was a lot more talkative than was expected, way more than Nikita Kucherov, but you can't expect that much out of Kuch. So getting a chance to get to know Vasi a little bit more was cool. He even spoke to the fact of the Atlantic finally winning, even though he's had, quite a few appearances in this now and what that means to him and kind of the confidence that it puts on his shoulder to head into the second part of the season. And I think we're seeing that for all the players. So it was really cool to be in that atmosphere and see them have fun with hockey, get to display skills that you can't really do in the fast pace of the natural game. And then now everyone turns the leaf to the second part of the season and you're kind of seeing them pull those elements into their game, that different level of concentration, that fun in hockey and those skill sets. So all in all, probably one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. I chose that over Super Bowl this year, and I don't regret it.
Good for you. Yeah, Super Bowl's gotten so cliche and so tired. I mean, and discovering it, even Radio Row now is just kind of, it's just turned into a big, promotion fest. Guys coming through hawking mushrooms and all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah, it's like those fan things where you just throw out a bunch of, like, you walk through Radio Row and you have a bag of goodies of koozies from every station, and that's great. I want to support everybody. I don't need another koozie. I don't need another portable charger. I don't need another USB something or other. Like, I'm really good on all of that. So yeah, fan row is what a friend of mine was calling it while he was in Scottsdale.
Yeah, exactly. What was your takeaway from the Super Bowl? On and off the field, the halftime show, everything. What was your take?
I thought it was I don't know if it felt very mild. It was an exciting game for the most part. I know a lot of people are still kind of hung up on that last holding call, and then Juju Schuster did the stupidity with Valentine's Day yesterday and stuff. But it was a good quality game for the most part. There wasn't as much hype or excitement as I thought there was going to be because there was so much building up into the game. It almost just felt like we were watching the first round of playoffs. Right? I know that might be a very unfavorable thing to say, but I didn't feel the full explosion of Super Bowl vibes. I didn't feel that. Maybe I was exhausted, but
I don't know. We talked about this, and Nick will jump in here. Was it maybe the announcers? And now, Burkhardt and Olsen are great, but they're not, it's not Al Michaels. It's not, Joe Buck and Troy. It's like those voices that you associate with the big, big, big games. I mean, these guys are kind of new at it.
I feel like you got to take your game to another level, I guess, in all fronts. And I feel like Burkhardt and Olsen called that game like it was their typical 425 Cowboys Commanders or whatever. Like there wasn't.
That's what it felt like.
And maybe I guess you can use that. I think a lot of people were saying that about Olsen, is that Olsen's been getting a lot of praise lately, but he kind of, there's when you're in front of it was 113 million people, I think, on average that watched it. When you're in front of a large audience, you almost have to alter it a little bit of how you go. And a lot of people are saying that he was too quiet and he didn't say enough. But that could have been a directive from Fox, though, not to go over the top with all the people watching and everything.
I don't know, but I think that's what it was.
Yeah, but in my mind, that's his moment. That's for us to see the next layer of commentary that he has in him, because I think he's a great commentator. I'm very excited that he took that role. I love that he has not only the player insight, but he has relationships with so many different players, so he gets to speak from a different perspective all the time. But it felt like, just like you said, a 425 Cowboys game where it's like, yeah, well, that's the natural route. I know he can do better. I played with him 4 years ago, and it's like, okay. But what else? Did that play excite you? I didn't hear any excitement in their voices, even on the big plays that were like, "Oh shit, what's going to happen now?" You weren't feeling that from the commentators.
And that's more on the play-by-play guy. Yeah, at times I felt he was kind of muted.
Yeah, and that's what I said that at some point. Like when there was 5 minutes left. Again, I was watching the entire game, but it was 5 minutes left. I looked and I said, "Okay, it's 35-35, and Patrick Mahomes has the ball. Somebody needs to set the scene for me right now on the broadcast, because I'm feeling it as I'm sitting at home, but I need that to radiate over through the television a little bit."
Yeah,
100%. And you know what the measuring stick for that is? If I get up to go refill my plate, grab a snack, grab a drink, and I can't feel the energy from the TV, something's off. So every time I got up from the couch, it was like, I was disconnected from the game. It wasn't punching through the screen for me. So, and then that's the other thing too. Think of what Patrick Mahomes did. Take the whole holding call crap away. Like, the guy was clearly injured, distinctly uncomfortable with the one run that he had when he went off to the bench. So many question marks there. I feel like that could have been built into a lot more. That conversation wasn't happening enough because, at the end of the day, he was playing through an injury. He still helped his team get to certain markers. The offensive line wasn't talked about enough. I mean, you're going against one of the best pass rush defenses, and the only conversation was around the specific play at the specific moment and then silence. So I feel like the buildup in between just really lacked for me. So it wasn't as exciting as normal. The halftime show, I mean, I love Rihanna, big fan of hers. It wasn't all the commotion or stunts that you're typically used to seeing, which in a way it just speaks to her as a performer. That's very natural to her, but still very mild, just like, okay, cool. She returned. She's pregnant. Blessings, move on. So it was like, for me, there was no waiting for the show to never end. Yeah, like sometimes when Super Bowls are rolling, you're just like, damn, this is moving so fast. I want it to slow down so I can continue to engage and embrace this game. And I honestly didn't really care at many points of the game, if I'm being honest.
Nick wanted to see SZA come out or somebody. Did I say that?
Somebody could have hopped out with her. Somebody could have helped.
SZA.
No, I was with my pillow, and his 16-year-old daughter was there, and I was like, "Is there somebody out there? Could they be bringing somebody on?"
I made the point
and
that
she goes, SZA's like really big right now. Maybe they should bring. I don't even know who that is.
I made the point. I'm like, why did Kanye West have to open his mouth over the past year and ruin things? Because we could have had Kanye West on like 2 or 3 of these songs. Or for that matter, Jay-Z's in some of those. He was in the building.
Sitting right there.
Right there. He helped her produce the whole thing. I was like, we could have had that great moment for like, Run This Town and all the lights, but it got ruined. But then I think at the end of the day, it was her return. They wanted her to have that moment. And I think that's really all there was to it.
Yeah, because now they're saying Super Bowl shows are just to give artist engagement. So her streaming went up 620%, I would think it was the next day. So, they can't give that to Jay-Z and Jay-Z's connection with Beyonce and all these things, all the drama. And Beyonce and Rihanna have their own thing. So I think that's what all played into that. But again, just very cool.
Did she sing?
We saw it.
I thought
Did Rihanna sing?
Yeah, I thought she was lip syncing.
She sang a couple of times, but she only came in for certain notes. Other than that, she was just lip singing and humming and hawing. So again, I love Rihanna. Big fan. But
lip syncing in the Super Bowl?
I think majority of them.
Well, she probably didn't have a lot of them do lip sync. Now I did get to see Shakira and Jennifer Lopez's live. I was at that Super Bowl.
They were
singing. Was fantastic. They were singing and doing all the stunts and all the things. But then they got criticism for a bunch of other crap. So who knows? Who knows where Super Bowl shows are about to go? Honestly,
who knows? Right. All right. So we
know what I actually listen to anyway. So.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me this. What the hell are the Bucs doing? Have you figured it out yet? What I just kind of did a whole thing in the first segment of like, it's a hodgepodge of, they're just throwing crap at the wall at this point. And, you can't nobody wants to be the OC here. This is not the Bucs being super selective. Nobody wants the freaking job because they all know Todd Bowles is a lame duck and they don't have a quarterback. Why would anybody of quality come take this job? And I think when the Bucs decided to keep Todd Bowles on, maybe they didn't think this through. Let's fire half the coaching staff, but not all of the coaching staff. So the OC, you still got to work with Harold Godwin and the run coordinators. But it's a weird juxtaposition to put anybody in, and you're not going to get anybody of quality, it looks like. So what's the plan here?
Oh my gosh, I wish there was actually an answer for this, because if I get one more Bucs notification that says we've interviewed a position coach that nobody knows about, I'm going to actually lose it. But
for you?
No, none of them are. The worst part about it is I do think you're right in terms of I don't think they thought the process through when it came to Todd Bowles. Not going against Todd Bowles' coaching ability. I think you and I already agreed on the fact that his coaching style might not be a fit for the Bucs. But when you say that you're going to clean house and give him the team that he can build, give him the staff that he can function at his highest with, that almost interprets the fact that he has guys in mind that can come in and give him the team and the functionality that he needs to work at his best. You never expected this revolving door if he actually had that ability and that reach. So that's where I'm frustrated as someone who's grown up watching the Bucs, who also covers the Bucs, because now it's like, okay, you guys really didn't have a plan. You don't have people that support Todd Bowles, because you should have people running here to be like, I want to be your OC. I want to work hand in hand with you. And we're not seeing that. We're now going down to position coaches. I mean, the guy they just interviewed from the Seahawks, he's only been with the Seahawks. And before that, it was briefly high school experience. He played for 2 seconds NAIA. And if anybody who like the college route that I took, there's a big difference between NCAA and NAIA. Not taking anything away from the guy. So his coaching ability is going to be different in this structure. Then you've got, I think Rick Stroud mentioned the assistant head coach from the Rams. While the Rams run a cool offense, that's awesome. That offensive structure doesn't fit what's happening with the Bucs here. So what massive moves are they going to make? Is the conversations about getting rid of a Mike Evans true? Are they going to actually get rid of big names and faces of this team that have held this team through all of the turmoil of the last 10 years to try to do what? So there's no answers here. There's still no logic. And it just makes you feel like there was a lot of things not taken into consideration from a realistic standpoint, and that the bigger issue here was what everybody was trying to avoid, potentially being Todd Bowles, which I hate to say. So much respect for the guy, truly, but I don't think any of this was a fit, because nothing's plugging in after the fact.
It's a great point you bring up, Casey, because, if obviously the Glazers had a conversation with Todd Bowles and said, okay, what's your plan? If we're going to keep you on staff, what's your plan? And did he say, well, I'm going to bring in this guy as the offensive coordinator and this guy as the tight ends coach and this guy as the wide receivers coach and this guy? Okay, did he say that and it didn't happen? He couldn't get it done?
Right.
Or did he just say, I'm going to hire a guy, I'm going to hire a guy, I'm going to hire a guy, I have people in mind? I mean, if I'm the Glazers, I got to know who it is, and you better damn well have him signed up. And
the communication should have already started. As you're sitting there saying, I might have this guy, you should have already spoke to this guy and known, okay, we're at least going to bring him in. Half of the names, I've sat there Googling connections between the guys they've interviewed and Todd Bowles in any way, and there's no connections. There's no connections. And most of the time when people pull over, what was some of the hype behind Todd Monken? The draft classes that he could potentially pull in, the coaches that love and respect him that would probably follow suit. That's typically the conversation that goes with a lot of these coaching things, is that, okay, there's about 2-3 guys that we know are going to follow suit with him. We at least know this is the package we're going to get. There's no packaging around Todd Bowles, and that's terrifying.
And plus the guys that they kept, Harold Godwin, and I'm trying to think of who the other person is, the run game coordinator on the offensive staff. The name is escaping me. So you're telling the OC that he can't hire those positions. Don't most OCs want to come in and hire their own offensive line coach?
Isn't that half the reason Byron Leftwich didn't go to the Jaguars? Because he couldn't bring certain people with him?
Right. So it's like, so we're asking, you would think you're going to get a quality OC in this particular situation. You don't have a quarterback. The coach is likely a lame duck. You got to keep 2 guys on staff that you haven't worked with before. I mean, it's like I said, what are we doing? There's no clear pathway here. It's not, okay, we're building around this. We're going to draft a quarterback. We're going to build around this. We're going to get a coaching staff that builds we're going to go get a retread quarterback who we think's got some up, and we're going to pair him with this particular OC who he has a connection with, like Monken and Baker Mayfield. Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
Let's go. But there's none of that. There's just none of that. It's like, whoosh, let's just throw crap at the wall, flung poo, and see what, see if we come up with something. Usually,
we look like the Browns 8 years ago.
Yeah, it looks like a complete clown show right now.
And there's nothing attractive about it, because then, as you mentioned, what's the quarterback situation? Then, what was it, a week ago or a couple of days ago that there was clarification on what the cap looks like now with Tom Brady officially announcing his retirement? Okay, so then you can't really go out and afford anybody, which brings you back to the Trask conversation, which is unrealistic, which brings us back to going with a draft pick, which makes the moves of what? So nothing. There's just nothing foreseen that makes sense that's going to put this team in a flourishing position for at least the next 3 years. And starting with the quarterback, and the most appealing thing with the team is the quarterback and OC dynamic. There's no dynamic to be created there. So unless there's an OC that can come in with a guy, they're, as you said, lame ducks right now, the entire staff.
Where do you land on Kyle Trask?
Which one? I went to Gainesville my first year of college. I've actually seen him and Felipe Franks play quite a bit. Felipe Franks, with the wildfire that he was, beating Trask out in certain instances was kind of weird for me. So I wasn't a big fan of Trask coming to this system initially. Then I got on board with it. Love his frame, love his size. Offensive line situations aside, he's still very inconsistent, and the team, which is questionable at this point from a staffing perspective, but the team showed no faith in him. Typically, when you draft a quarterback, he's your fourth quarter guy. And last season, there was so much opportunity for him to hop in and get those fourth quarter reps, and they didn't give it to him. So that just made me wonder, what are they not seeing in him to build a team around him? We can't have that conversation if they never gave him those reps when they were in position to give him those reps. Last season, he should have been in multiple fourth quarter games. Didn't get that. We saw him, once this year, and he can throw big balls here and there, which is great, but still, the accuracy isn't always there. His composure in the pocket isn't always there. And then you're talking about a fragmented offensive line that we have no idea what it's going to look like next year. So a guy who's already not that confident hanging in the pocket, and then you have this offensive line situation, they're not going to put all their chips on Kyle Trask. At least that's where I stand with him for now.
Yeah, I think, I would have loved to see him play a whole game against Atlanta, which we could have seen. But
why not? Why would a staff not take that moment, knowing that Brady was 1 foot in, 1 foot out?
Because Brady wanted to play, and they always listen to Brady, and which was silly. It was somebody should have had the nuts to say, sorry, Tom, it's
Yeah.
a meaningless game. We got to look at
Somebody's
Kyle
balls
Trask.
needed to drop, and they needed to
Exactly.
talk about what was
that's-
better for the team at that moment, and that was
Right.
stupid. They
Right.
knew that he was half in and half out, and they made no decisions this season to start evaluating their next roster, which leaves them here. Nick looks like he likes Kyle Trask.
No, he
I'm
does
dying
not.
to
He
know.
does not.
I was like, I can't gauge your face right now. If you're a Kyle Trask fan, let me know. That's fine.
No,
But
it's
it's
like,
just no faith.
but he's in your camp. It's like the Bucs showed no interest in him playing in fourth quarters. I don't know about, they always thought they could come back with Tom, so he wasn't going to play any fourth quarters, even when they.
This season, but last year there was at least 4 opportunities, JP,
That's
that
true.
they could have put
That's
him
true.
in.
That's
I'll
true.
tell you what, the biggest reason why I'm actually against, and there's a lot of reasons. I just feel like after what we just saw in the year 2023, what we just saw in the Super Bowl, we got guys running around, making plays outside of the pocket. This franchise has to be one of, if not the only franchise to never have a mobile quarterback. Never have a mobile quarterback. And don't give me Jameis Winston. He was awkward and weird, clunky. That's not a mobile quarterback.
Fred Sanford,
still not the same.
Fred Sanford running around back there.
I'm not even going to comment on Fred Sanford. Never had a mobile quarterback. So I want to see that. I want to see that because that's where the game's going. Kyle Trask, to me, represents what the game is moving away from. Yeah. And I don't think the arm talent is enough to outweigh it like a Tom Brady
100%.
was, or even to an extent how Kirk Cousins is able to have a lot of really good years and he's not really moving. I don't think Kyle Trask's arm talent is up to snuff to outweigh that. That's my biggest reason, honestly, of why I'm not in the Kyle Trask camp.
Yeah.
Love that. I think it's a perfect point. And JP and I talked about this last week. The game is changing, so you do have to change with the game. I mean, more mobile quarterbacks are becoming that thing, not the stand-up guys anymore. You don't have what a pro-style offense was years ago. We don't have fullbacks anymore. We don't have, except for one team in the league. So there's just so much changing. You have to change with the times. But that building sometimes goes around leading up to the quarterback versus starting with the quarterback, depending on where your staff stands. And that's why they have too many missing pieces right now. And they're still not using the word rebuild, which is just insane to me because that's where you are. You're going to have to start in one area and move to another. That offensive line is a problem. That's not attractive for any quarterback to come to right now.
Let's talk about the offensive line. All right. Because I don't think it's as bad as I don't think it's as bad as y'all make it out to be. Because you got Ryan Jensen, who's an all-pro center. He's coming back. He's got 2 more years on his contract. He's your anchor. I like what Nick Leverett gave me last year. You turn on the tape, Nick Leverett was pretty damn good when he finally got in, and that was his first year. And I love his emotion. He's going to get better. I like him at left guard. Shaq Mason played well at right guard. I have no problem with Shaq Mason. He's getting older. You need to draft somebody, his replacement, but he was fine. And Tristan Wirfs is the best tackle in football, maybe left or right. Now, okay, you got an issue at left tackle. You got to look, we're getting rid of Donovan Smith. You can't handle that contract anymore. Love you, Donnie, but you played terrible. You're not worth $17 million. You got to go. And we need the cap space. So you're drafting a tackle. Or you're moving Tristan Wirfs to left tackle and you're kicking Gedeke or Hainsey, who both played right tackle in college. Hello, their natural positions. You're kicking him out to right tackle. And I think you got a pretty damn good. If you've got 2 all pros on your offensive line, you're doing pretty good. And so I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. And I think your quarterback standing in the same spot and not being able to run or escape any tacklers whatsoever makes you look really bad as an offensive line. So I'm gonna defend my fat guys a little bit here.
That could be a perspective. Look, I love the big guys. My thing is just we saw so many moments where when one guy went down, when Gedeke was getting run over, when Smith had his issues, one guy was affecting this entire O-line. But I will give you this, Jensen was not in. And there was some moving about, but it can't always come down to Jensen and Tristan Wirfs if you don't have a guy who can get out of the pocket and make things happen. So it comes back to your last point. If you got a standing duck back there, then you're going to need a more outstanding O-line. I don't know what's going to come of Gedeke. I think sometimes forcing a guy who's not ready to continue to show up could almost hinder their game in their future. So this is going to be a big off season for this kid to see if he can overcome that mentally and take that next step and then see what he produces in training camp. So Gedeke, question mark. Smith's got to go. So there's just too many guys that the minute that they went through that revolving door, this whole offensive line fell apart. I haven't seen Hainsey at right guard, so that's something I'd have to see in training camp.
Right,
So
exactly.
I don't disagree. It's just it's still been so many question marks and not that attractive for a quarterback to be like, hey, I want to go play behind that unless they know that they can maneuver through the issues that the offensive line may or may not have.
Casey Hudson joining us here. All right, we haven't talked about the Bolts win last night in shootout against the Avalanche, and now that's 2 wins over Colorado in a week. They with those 2 games. I mean, they were as hungover as you were from the All-Star game. Clearly, they lost those 2 games.
Still look hungover.
Going into the break, they had those 3 big wins, and now coming out of it, they've beaten up on 2 really good hockey teams. So I like where the Bolts are, especially with these 2 road wins that they've racked up.
Oh my gosh. Well, for starters, beating the Colorado that's now getting on the healthier side of things, I thought was going to be a huge test and testimony to where they stood this season. And what I loved about it too is that you saw 2 different line arrangements last Thursday versus last night. I was a little concerned because initially they threw Hagel and Cirelli on the same line to kind of eliminate McKinnon. And what we know he can do on the ice. So initially when McKinnon picks up a point and a goal, I was like, what the heck are we doing? And then things just started to strum together. So seeing that they have that versatility to continue shuffling the lines and it not be detrimental, love that. Because that speaks to their legs come playoffs. And then Vasilevsky, like I said, from All-Star week to what he said, could happen there. We're seeing that. We're seeing the next level of his game in this second half. We're seeing the Vasilevsky that his team can rely on. Not that they need to or that they should, but that they can. Coach Cooper said last week he deserves way more shutouts than he's gotten this season. And we could be seeing the beginning of that. Dallas, they're not talked about enough, but they sit at the top of their conference, and that was a great game to watch. Anthony Cirelli, think of the timing of coming back from his injury. I think he's already at 17 points, so he's made a significant difference in every game that he has been a part of. So I think everyone's starting to get that playoff gear going. So I love where the guys are at. I love seeing the line shuffles not affect them negatively. I think that speaks highly to the run coming up here that they're going to have, and I think that they're in prime position to beat out the top of the top teams.
Yeah, and we saw it last year in the Stanley Cup, and I'm starting to see it now that he's playing in every single game. I think more often than not, he's the best player on the ice. Is Braden Point, can we say, given the whole, I mean, there's like 4 or 5 Hall of Famers on this team, not even including him, right? If he even gets that status. Is he the most important player on the Lightning right now? Because I just feel like every game I watch, he's like the engine. He's making the most plays. I mean, last night, the pass to Kucherov. Is he the most important player on this team right now?
Yeah, because when it's time to dial things up, Braden Point's that guy that can do it. Not saying that Kucherov and anyone else don't, but it's the fashion in which Braden Point can and does do it. That silent humility that he has, the fact that he's learning or maybe kind of rearranging his game to take the puck in so deep and not get carried away but past the point of being able to deliver to his teammates and stuff. He's so meticulous in ways that just help pull the guys back into the game or tilt the ice, however anyone wants to put it. So I think he's crucial because we've seen him do it in so many ways. I mean, think about 2 of the top goals that he's had this season. It was to put his team back in the contention, not put them, above anything. It was to say, hey, we're still in this game. We can stick with this and give them a fighting chance. So he's, in my opinion, that momentum swing guy. Whether he's putting pucks on net or he's just helping generate an offense and get the guys moving, he's always a key piece in all of that. And he's not even like this biggest forechecker guy, which typically, you would talk about your top forecheckers to be the guys to tilt the ice and be the momentum swing. Braden Point does that, and I think that's special because he's not a massive forechecking guy.
Well, I think you got that energy that he's bringing. Cirelli's bringing that defensive energy and shutting down the other team's best line and best players and scoring big goals now. Hagel's been amazing at forecheck and he's really converting now in what 21 goals for him. I mean, this team and like you mentioned, Vasi is really starting to hit his stride. He's the shutout the other day, the game against Dallas was phenomenal. Last night he played well. I mean, everything is starting to click for this team. So I'm very much looking forward to this stretch. They just took over second place percentage wise from Toronto. Yes. They're making up those games. So we got Arizona tonight, right, where we typically play like crap, and then Vegas, baby, on Saturday. 2 days off before playing in Vegas. Woo. Ooh.
Yeah, which I think will be a nice little challenge as well to also solidify where they're at, how they manage this road trip. And they need a big road trip success. They haven't really had that heading into this road trip. Or I think as of like Saturday, they were 13-12 for away games. So it's very split up for them versus the success that they have on home ice, which we know what home ice means to any team, but still you have to be just as dynamic on the road. So getting those big wins versus Colorado and Dallas, offensively powerhouse teams for starters. And we know that Vasilevsky loves a challenge too, so I feel like we're just going to continue to see him get more confident and expand his game over the next couple of weeks here because those kind of wins mean everything to him.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Casey,
So
great
big
stuff.
fan of where they're at.
Yeah, great stuff as always. Tell everybody how they can get your content and what's going on with you.
Thanks, guys. At the Sports Case, KASE is typically the best way to see what I'm up to because I'm always juggling the masses. At Odyssey Sports is where I have Pucks and Bolts, and we're fully dove into all Lightning coverage right now. And then over at BetQL Network, we're working on some things for the offseason from football, but hopefully it'll just gear towards more hockey stuff. So at the Sports Case is where we'll see what's going on week by week.
Yeah, I need some betting advice. My football season did not go as planned. It started so
I got
well.
you. I'm on a hot streak for hockey. So
yeah, the Eagles cost me big time. But that's okay. All right, Casey. Thanks so much. Always great to visit with you. Get better.
Thanks, guys.
Go get some local honey. See if that works.
Appreciate it. Bye.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, my favorite segment that I'm looking forward to. James Petracca is going to defend the NFL officials. The indefensible. He's going to try and defend. Good luck with that. We'll do that. Quick break. When we come back, we're brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group and Bay Area Modern Medical Center and the Gold and Diamond Source, American Mortgage Services, and Italiano Insurance. Back in 3. Stay with us. Was your car totaled in an accident? Did your insurance company use Kelley Blue Book or NADA to appraise the value of your car? Chances are they didn't, and you got shorted maybe thousands of dollars. Call the Jeeves Law Group for a free case evaluation because your insurance company may still owe you money. 727-894-2929. It's a free call, so why not find out if you have a case? Insurance companies have been running this scam for a while, and most folks don't know if they've been shorted. Trust me. Scott Jeeves is a different kind of attorney, the kind insurance companies hate to go up against. He could recover thousands of dollars, so why not call? 727-894-2929 or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. That's JEEVES lawgroup.com and tell them JP sent you.
JP here for Emerging Investigations, Tampa Bay's premier investigation agency. Do you suspect your spouse is cheating or involved in a divorce, that your spouse is hiding money, an ex-employee or current employee with suspicious behavior? Is there a criminal matter you need help with? If you need information you can count on, using the professionals at Emerging Investigations is a slam dunk. Emerging Investigations is a licensed and insured private investigation agency, family-owned. Emerging is your ideal resource to secure evidence and validation, allowing you to make informed decisions in life's biggest matters. Led by industry executive Brian D'Antonio, Emerging possesses the experience and resources to get needed results. Emerging Investigations maintains an excellent reputation as a premier investigation agency. They are known for results. You're not just hiring a PI, but an organized, dedicated team using state-of-the-art technology. Their proven investigative methods produce crucial information used in criminal cases, insurance fraud, and personal injury claims. Many local attorneys, industry agencies, and your concerned neighbors all count on Emerging Investigations. Just go to their website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-291-FACT. That's 813-291-FACT-3228. Get results you can trust in life's biggest matters. Emerging Investigations.
Well, it's that time of year to renew or shop your health insurance provider, and you can get great health insurance for $20, $30, $50 a month. Just call 888-325-0605 to help navigate the health insurance marketplace. 1 out of 3 people in Florida are uncovered because they think they can't afford it. Not true. I made the call a couple of years ago, and they helped me get Blue Cross Blue Shield coverage, Florida Blue, for just $20 a month. Last year, it went up to $49. Oh, well. It all depends on your income and your family situation. It's a free call, 888-325-0605. They will ask for some income information. So if you have your tax returns available, that will be great, but you don't need it. They'll just answer some simple questions, and the highly trained reps will do the work for you to find out what your subsidy will be. 888-325-0605. And if you have a plan through your employer, you may be able to get it cheaper. It's a free call, so find out, folks. This has been a lifesaver for me and saved me thousands of dollars over the last few years, and you can choose your plan. It's a no-brainer. Find out. Make the free call. 888-325-0605. Get covered like me and thousands of others. 888-325-0605. The PGA Tour's Valspar Championship returns this March 16th to the 19th with 4 days of golf action plus a host of fun activities that make it Tampa Bay's hottest spring sports ticket. Sam Burns, who won in a thrilling playoff last year, is looking to make it 3 wins in a row on the Copperhead course at Innisbrook Resort. He will be challenged by a top field that includes Jordan Spieth, returning for the first time in 5 years. The 2015 Valspar champ counts 13 PGA Tour victories, including 3 majors in his career. It will be a great field and great fun. Tickets are on sale now at ValsparChampionship.com for all tournament days, both grounds tickets and premium ticket options. You don't want to miss the 2023 Valspar Championship.
Let's go! Right now. Back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. We thank you so much for joining us here. The Jeeves Law Group is our sponsor in the second hour, along with Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Chris Lugo joins us each and every Monday, the director at Bay Area Modern Medical Center. We talked about sleep this week, which I've not gotten any of. I need him to change my work schedule. Doc, can you do that? Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Get your appointment now. All right. We want to bring in our good friend James Pachaka from Fox Sports, who texted me and said, I want to come on and defend the officials. And I'm like, come on, brother. Come on. Bring it. I can't wait to hear this. This is going to be fantastic. How are you, partner?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good. How big was the check from the NFL for you to do this?
I was just going to say, I want to state for the record that I'm not on the NFL payroll. And I'm not secretly part of a conspiracy.
So James, you didn't get the same visit that James Bradbury and Sirianni got for their media sessions. I'll ask you. You've been around the business for a long time in terms of PR. Have you ever seen a player get a questionable call that cost them the Super Bowl or even any game whatsoever, and then go into the locker room and go, "Oh yeah, I held the guy. Yeah, I held him." Have you ever?
No, I haven't. Usually but sometimes there's sometimes muted responses. They're not like, flying, yelling, it's good. But yeah, no, that was a bit unusual. But yeah, and that call, it shouldn't have been called. But there is something that I will say is, Fox didn't have the best replays of it, and there was a part of it where I saw a still shot online where Bradbury has a handful of his jersey and it's pulled away from his body. Yeah. And that's, whenever the officials, they see that, they're going to call it. Yeah. In that situation, the way they've been calling it all game, that one they should have let it go. It shouldn't have been called.
Well, my big thing on that play was, and referees, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I've been told officials are told to, you have to see that player be impeded by the hold. And to me, Juju Smith-Schuster never broke stride.
Right. That's the other. Yeah, I agree.
And complete proof of that is the fact that he didn't bitch and moan about it. At no point of that play did Juju Smith-Schuster throw up his hand saying, I got held out of the break, because his hands were on him, but he wasn't impeded. And that to me is the reason why you don't make the call. Plus the fact it should be egregious in that particular instance if you're going to make the call. And again, it needs to show, significant or any impediment at all. Yeah. And I didn't think it rose to any of that. So
I would agree with that. Yeah.
But your point is, it ain't easy for these guys.
Yeah, and in general, I'll tell you, all the games I worked this year, the big one of the controversial things that happened this year was the roughing the passer penalties.
Yeah.
The games that I worked, we did not have one where it was called and you looked at it and said, oh, that was a bad call. Or we did not have one where it's like, oh, that was egregious, that should have been called.
Right.
So I think if you look at the entire, and I think this is what Goodell was saying, if you look at my point is, if you look at the entire body of work, they really do a great job. You can pick out calls here and there, and you see the highlights, you see this play, they don't show highlights. Oh, the official made a great call here, or this was a great no call.
Right.
So I think that's part of it. If you look at it, and I've had conversations with officials, like you see them on, we see them a lot at the airport, or on, and sometimes we're on the same flights, and they're talking, obviously they want to get it right, and they'll admit, that one I probably shouldn't have thrown the flag, or this one, or you talk about different things, and the other part of it is, we all had biases where people, when you're watching the game, it's like, oh, my team, that's my, and kind of
bet
funny.
on the Eagles.
Yeah.
It wasn't a very timely call for me.
Right. And by the way, I did predict that Kansas City, I believe, on this show last week.
Did.
But anyway,
you and Nick were right. I was wrong.
Too bad I didn't bet.
But had Jalen Hurts gotten the ball like he should have,
Right.
I would have been right. The whole narrative would have been different, right?
But this kind of funny. So I was sitting on a plane after a game in Houston, and guy sits down next to me. We started chatting a little bit. And we were talking about officials, and he was at the game, and I could kind of tell he was an official, but was kind of being cautious about saying it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, I've got to know Jerome Boger a little bit because he lives in Atlanta. We fly together a lot. And he looks at me, and goes, "He's a great guy, isn't he?" And I said, "Yeah, he is." And he's like, "He's my dad."
How about that?
And I was like, "Oh, good thing I said that." But his son Trey, who's an official, he's a back judge, and.
Cool.
And the umpire was sitting across the aisle from us. So as the flight went on, we started talking more about it. And he said, it's funny. So we're walking off the field at halftime, and this fan, a Houston fan, yells at the guy, the umpire, and he says, "Hey, how come you're calling all the penalties against Houston?" And he looked up at him. He says, "I've thrown 2 flags, both of them against Washington."
Yeah.
And the fan goes, "Well, shows how much I know."
Right. Exactly. Well, you may be able to speak to this, and maybe there's some, you don't have to name names, Jerome Boger. But to me, it's more about what the league is trying to get these officials to do.
Right.
I think it's the competition committee and the league as a whole. What they're asking these officials to do is almost impossible. In some it's in what they're asking the players to do. In some is a counter to physics. Like you're running up to a quarterback and you hit him and you land on top of him. That's a penalty. Well, as we've seen many, many times, it's impossible for people to go matrix in the middle of the air and somehow contort their body when gravity is pretty much in control here.
Yeah.
And so I feel for the officials in that. Same with catch and no catch.
Right.
It's still ridiculously ambiguous. It changes every year. It seems like the emphasis.
Yeah.
The rules are not consistent in terms of out of bounds, in the middle of the field, at the goal line. So to me, it's not even much necessarily the performance of the officials on the field as the stupidity of some of the things that the league is asking them to do. Is there some frustration among officials in that regard?
There have been occasions of maybe a beverage or two after a game with officials where yes, they have expressed frustration with some of the rules and what they're being asked to call because they're being evaluated and they want to get playoff assignments and they want to be brought back and get promoted and things like that. So so sometimes they'll make a call and that's what the league wants. That's what the rules say, but logic is sometimes different than they've kind of changed. They've improved. The league has taken some steps to improve that process. I think with some of the rule changes, and they've kind of told officials in certain situations like don't necessarily call the letter of the rule if it didn't affect those kinds some things. So, but they're in a tough spot. I think the rules is, a lot of times what makes things for them a lot more difficult.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think the competition committee and replay as it is right now, James, especially what was some of the things we saw in the Super Bowl, it's just like we're spending all this time to do replay, and then we're not even getting what I think the fans would say is a definite outcome. I mean, we're still looking at it going, no, you told me that a catch was, take 3, the one on the sideline with Devontae Smith, he took 4 steps initially, then hit the ground, then the ball, he catches it, gets 2 feet in, goes to the ground initially, has the ball, and then gets hit again on the ground. And it's like, does he have to take the ball back to the bench, put it up on his mantle, and then it's a catch? Or like, when does the catch end? When does the process of catching a football end to the point where we don't have to, it can't move? It's stupidity. You see a guy go up and make this great catch, bring it down among two guys, get 2 feet in, and then he hits the ground and the ball moves a little bit, and it's dumb, man. And to me, replay should be egregious things. And I would get rid of all the challenges. I would get rid of everything. I would have one guy in the booth, an experienced official that's looking at replays. And if he sees something that he doesn't like, he buzzes down. He says, I'm going to take a look at this. And if he can't figure it out in 30 seconds, we are moving on. So I want the egregious calls taken care of, and everything else I don't give a crap about. If we miss a call here and there, fine. Let's move on. You and I are old enough to have watched football before replay, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing wrong with it.
Right.
Did they miss a call every now and then? Yes, they did. But it wasn't this stopping and starting and all the bullshit that goes on with replay. It's not. The cure has been way worse than the disease.
Yeah. This is an overall broad statement, but I've always said replay, the game's officiated by humans, played by humans. Did Jalen Hurts fumble in that game? Yes. Did the Eagles coaches get out coached on the goal line? Yes. They made mistakes.
Yes.
Officials are going to make mistakes. Just let it. But yeah, in terms of the standard should be, and this was Mike Pereira has always said, it's 10 guys sitting in a bar or 10 guys sitting in a room or 10 people watching the play. What are they going to think? And that's what it should be. Now they've got, I think technology has contributed to that somewhat, where they have different, but the process, though, it is sort of like that. There is someone in the booth who's usually a retired official, former official, and they see things and they can buzz down. And now New York is watching at the same time, and they can look at it. And so they can correct some things in real time, which I think has been a big plus.
Yes.
But those big plays, the catch plays, the rule is they tried to clarify the rule to make it a little bit easier. But then where the ball can move, but you still have control. But it's just gotten so fine, and so I agree with you. There's got to be some way to just make it easier. It's not, and just let it and move on. And if you can't figure it out, like you say, if you can't figure it out in 30 seconds, then
let's move on.
Leave what was called.
Yeah, agreed.
But switching gears just a little bit, it seems like there's more of an interest now than maybe there's ever been in maybe picking apart or kind of analyzing broadcast and announcers and all that kind of stuff. And there was a lot of talk because this was the first Super Bowl with Fox without Troy Aikman and Joe Buck, Kevin Burkhardt, Greg Olsen. How do you feel like your two colleagues held up there during their first Super Bowl?
I thought they were good, pretty solid. I mean, this is their first Super Bowl. They don't have the cachet yet of, that Troy and Joe had, that Al Michaels, and has. But I thought they did a pretty good job. I thought they were actually better on the championship game. I thought Greg Olsen was really, really good on the championship game. And but I think I think they were solid. I don't know that they're like I said, they don't have the same cachet as some of the other ones, and their personalities aren't as flamboyant. And Kevin, I thought they did a good job. I don't think they missed anything or anything along those lines.
No, I think it just didn't feel like a big game, and I think your analysis is straight on. They haven't done big games, so their voices aren't associated with big games. So when you hear their voices, you're like, "Is this a 4:00 game, or is this the Super Bowl?" So I don't think it's any fault of theirs, but I think Fox pretty much thought that Tom Brady would be in the booth, so there would be some cachet. But whatever, it's not happening, or at least not anytime soon. All right, partner. Good time. Good chatting with you as always. I think you did a pretty good job defending the official. I think what we've agreed on is this is more of a league problem with their philosophy of officiating than it is the actual officials.
Yeah, and I think just sort of explain like some of the process and the positions they're in, and how from their perspective that they're not out there trying to make mistakes, obviously, and it's just they're in a tough position. And overall, again, the bigger point is like if you look at the entire body of work across the whole game, because there weren't a lot of calls in that game, so you'd have to actually look at the whole film to see if they actually missed things. Because our perception is if they don't call a lot of stuff, then they did a good job. But you can, and there's like they said I heard Dean Blandino said this the other day that the statement, well, you don't want the officials to affect the game by calling a penalty. Well, you can affect the game by not calling a penalty too.
Oh, we saw that with the Rams
right. So that's that's the but you don't want them noticed one way or the other.
True. All right, James. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. We'll check in with you down the road.
Right, thanks.
James Peterson, Fox Sports. I don't think the competition can be. I don't think we're ever going to go backwards on replay, but I think we should. I absolutely think we should.
I wish we would. I would, because I'm just like you. I hate the nitpicking of what's a catch, what's not a catch. You're making everything to me like you're making a disadvantage for somebody no matter what you do.
Yeah.
Everything you do. I mean, the defense has so many things that they can't even do anything anymore. And then as a pass catcher, you're being told that you making this great play, right, is not enough. We need you to continue making that great play as you hit the ground at full speed. It's ridiculous.
And the thing is, they can change games by having it. This is what I hate about it. When you have it ambiguous, and you can make this case for the against the NFL and the way they're doing it. When it's this ambiguous, right? Then and New York is involved in every call now, like James said. New York can be involved in every call now. You give the appearance and a mechanism in which New York can control every single game with what's a catch and what's not a catch, and some of these other calls that you want made or don't want made. Mm-hmm. You're giving people like me the opportunity to say, what the hell's going on here? This is not real. And to me, if you disconnect New York, first of all, this needs to be done first and foremost. Disconnect New York from every game. There is no need for New York to be involved in every call and it be a central command center. Why is that needed?
Again, it's the same thing. Why is it needed in hockey? Why do we have to go to Toronto all the time?
You don't need to.
What are we saying? Are we saying that we don't have enough faith in these officials
to make
the call exactly? So we
have
to have
giving
an overriding
idiots
body?
Like me the chance to say, well, you're fixing the games because you have control of it. This is a true statement. They have control of the outcome of every game unless it's a blowout in New York. True or false? They're talking to the officials. True or false?
In your scenario, sure.
Remove it. If you remove that connection, then there's no question about it. Of course, they'll probably remove it, but still keep it. Tell everybody it's removed, but they'll still keep it secretly because they could do that. But listen, why give that appearance that they can do it? There's no reason to, because you have officials that are on site that can handle this. Put one official, one retired official, not even retired, one experienced official in the booth. Your job, there are no challenges. There's no nothing. He's looking at everything. And if he doesn't buzz down within 30 seconds, the game is moving on, because you play this game at home, and I play this game at home all the time. Every time there's a call or something, and I first 3 or 4 within 30 seconds, if I can get 3 or 4 different angles, I know what happened or pretty close to what happened. If there's something egregious, like they called it a touchdown, and you could see he was clearly a yard from it, I'm spotting the ball. That's at the half-yard line. Let's go. All right. Or no, he got in. Yeah. I saw him reach the ball over. His knee's not down. That's touchdown.
Yeah, and all I feel like this does,
it's not that hard.
All sports, and I truly don't get it. I'm not one of these people that wants to speed the whole process up. It doesn't bother me as much. But it seems like all these leagues want to speed everything up now. They want to speed up the games. And I feel like replay in football, especially football or hockey, baseball, you name it. Replay to me kind of just slows that down even more.
Of course.
Which, again, it doesn't bother me as much. But if the leagues are coming out and telling you that's what we want to do, we want to speed up the game, I don't see how having these replays constantly for every little thing.
Well, I think the reason they don't want to get rid of it is because they can control the outcomes.
And I just hate it. I think sports back in the day, and you could speak to this more because I've only known about the replay era. Yeah. But when there was no replay, I don't know. I just feel like there's more chances for organic, great moments to happen. Maybe let the game breathe a little bit. Well,
even now when you see a touchdown, you can't really celebrate because you're like, is that them? Is that a touchdown or is it not?
Can't really. And it's the same thing in I know you don't watch much soccer, but it bothers me so much how we have this VAR. I was watching a game yesterday between PSG and Bayern Munich and in the Champions League. And Mbappe scores a goal to tie the game, and everybody's going nuts and everything. And then we got to all come back down because VAR decided that somebody's kneecap was a hair over the line of technology,
and had nothing to do with the play.
Had nothing to really do with. The guy who was over ended up crossing it into Mbappe, yes. But his kneecap or whatever, just because his kneecap sticks out a little further than some other people, and a computer's going to pick on that. We have to take the goal back, and the whole celebration that we just did, and Mbappe scoring a big goal in the Champions League. It's all gone.
It's all gone.
I hate that.
I hate it too. And I'm telling you, we used to watch football games This is one of the most heartbreaking moments of my life. Okay, was Kenny Stabler. This is the 1974 AFC Championship game between the Dolphins and the Raiders, and the Dolphins were going for a three-peat. And Stabler is falling to the ground. Vern Den Herder has him, and he's falling to the ground, and his knee may or may not have hit before he pushes the ball forward to Clarence Davis, who's in the end zone. 4 Dolphins around him. Somehow that ball comes in. Somehow he catches the ball. And I was, you're just like, up now. There are pictures that show Stabler's knee down with the ball still in his hand. Am I sitting there going, oh my God, my childhood was robbed? Like, no, it was close enough. It was close enough. The guy made a great play. He's falling down and he somehow gets the ball. It's close enough. Yeah. It's football. It's a game. And you want to see great athletes play. I'm not tuning in to see officials micromanage whether a ball moved or not. After this guy went up and made a one-hand catch, came down with it with 2 feet, and it's like, oh, but the ball moved. So fucking what? It was an unbelievable catch. And and I got some pencil neck geek in stripes looking into a little box going, oh, I think the ball moved right there. Oh, drives me. All right, we'll take a break.
Damn, 2 F-bombs in a minute.
No,
I'm going to have to start changing
I said freaking.
I'm going to have to start changing the explicit settings on the podcast here.
I said freaking. All right, let's take a freaking break, for God's sakes. Get me all wired up on these stupid officiating. All right, we'll come back. We'll talk a little Rays baseball, right? We got a little Rays baseball to talk about. And guess what, folks? We're going to get an on-campus stadium at USF. It looks like they're spending big money for the design. Is it worth it? Talk about that next. Stay with us.
JP here for Italiano Insurance. If you've started a side hustle during COVID and the business has grown, well, you need business insurance, because if you get sued, you could lose all your personal wealth if you're not properly protected. That's right. Your home, your savings, everything could go. So get protected now. Call the great agents at Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799, and a real human will answer the phone and get you protected. If you haven't shopped your business insurance in a while, you could be overpaying by thousands. One customer had their golf buddy handling his business insurance, then called Italiano to shop it around, and they saved him $26,000 a year. Yeah. So call 813-877-7799 or go to ItalianoInsurance.com. Italiano Insurance, protecting all the pieces of your life for over 60 years.
The boys are back. The PGA Tour's Valspar Championship returns March 16th to the 19th with 4 days of incredible golf plus a host of activities that make it Tampa Bay's hottest spring sports ticket. There is more to the Valspar than just great golf. It's the Hooters Owl's Nest, the Snake Pit Club, accessible by premium tickets, and other great venues throughout the course for those with ground tickets. And new in 2023 is the Rooftop, a new prestigious venue at the 18th green with music, food, and fun. Plus, you never know who you're going to see at the Rooftop. Tickets are on sale now at ValsparChampionship.com for all tournament days, both grounds tickets and premium ticket options. You don't want to miss the 2023 Valspar Championship.
Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately, or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida.
Hey, folks, it's still engagement season, and where better to get that special ring than the Gold and Diamond Source? The Gold and Diamond Source has the largest selection of engagement rings in the country, a literal jewelry super center with 30 times the inventory of any normal jeweler. You don't have to wait to spend any extra time waiting for them to bring something in. They have everything right there in-house, so why go anywhere else? And you can get up to 15% off this January if you buy something with the birthstone, which is garnet. Garnet and gold, Florida State, get something for your favorite Seminole. And let's not forget the Emily collection from Emily Johnson Weintraub. Very affordable, real gold and diamond jewelry, always stylish and unique. Emily has created this fashion-forward gold, diamond, and gemstone jewelry line ideal for everyday wear. Each piece is designed to enhance your look by featuring eye-catching, modern, geometrical shapes. Really unique stuff. Got to check it out. And, of course, Julie and Steve Weintraub, great benefactors here in the local community. So let's keep it local. And you can get 0% financing for up to 5 years. Get a big ring for a little price. It's the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Omerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Let's rock. This is FanStream Sports with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Any legal questions you may have, give them a call over there. Contact them through the website and tell them JP sent you. I like this tweet from, I just had it here. Where did it go? From Greg Allman. Eric Bieniemy is trending, by the way, right now on Twitter. And, the Commanders will interview him today. And that's a place where he can go where there's no specific quarterback, so to speak, and he will have full control of the offense, be able to call the plays and do all that. Absolutely. And as Greg Allman points out, he says, if you ask what more Bieniemy can do to prove himself as a worthy head coach hire, being the top offensive mind on a staff and a winning without an elite quarterback should help to do that. Few open jobs would give him that chance. Obviously, Tampa Bay would be one of them. At this point, who's better than Eric Bieniemy? Who's got more experience than Eric Bieniemy? Certainly not Scotty Montgomery. Certainly not Dave Canales.
Got a lot more cachet to himself than all these other guys.
All the
It's
other
not even
guys,
close.
yeah. So, but have the Bucs scheduled an interview with Eric Bieniemy?
No.
It's Wednesday. Super Bowl ended on Sunday.
Well, Eric Bieniemy has to want you first.
That's true too, but I think guys schedule interviews. I'm not exactly sure how that works. Do you ask the guy first and say, "Hey, we'd like to schedule an interview. Are you interested?"
Is it also
and then you go ask
is it
the
also
team?
possible that coaches, coordinators around the league talk to each other and maybe get some intel based on other interviews that they've had with people?
Oh, sure, yeah.
And spill like, "Hey, this is what they told me. This is their plan."
Yes, absolutely.
And then coaches can kind of say, "Oh, then I don't want to waste my time. Then if they don't like what they heard."
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Absolutely. Yeah, they talk to you. A lot of them have the same agents, so those agents already know what those details are. Interesting to note. So, yeah.
And I'll just say this too, by the way, and Bieniemy's situation is a little bit more unique because he had Patrick Mahomes and these other two guys had Alex Smith. But the other two coordinators who were before Bieniemy under Andy Reid were Doug Peterson and Matt Nagy. So we have one at the very high end, the top of the top that you can get, getting away from Andy Reid, Super Bowl champion Doug Peterson. And then you have the lowest of the lows with Matt Nagy.
Yeah.
So
completely fell on his face.
What are you getting with Eric Bieniemy? Right now, it seems like the narrative, at least out there, the NFL is telling you is that he doesn't really do much, right? Doesn't interview well. I mean, he's interviewed for 12 head coaching jobs in 5 years, and he hasn't been offered a single one.
Yeah. And
it's a little odd when you see like there's quarterback coaches who are getting offered head coaching interviews. So there's something there. I don't really think it has anything to do with his past. I mean, those things happened in the late 80s, early 90s when he was still a player. He went on to play like 7 more years after all this stuff happened. He's been coaching. I don't think that's a factor, but clearly there's something off there.
I've heard people talk about that and that he doesn't interview well. I've never met the man. I don't know. But it's just, if he wants to make the move, now is the time to do it. And his contract is up. They haven't extended him in Kansas City. Did I say the Orlando Brown thing to you on the air or off the air?
You said it on the air.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, we don't know if he's really calling the plays exclusively. It doesn't look like it when you watch Andy Reid on the sideline. So
and he could be a Byron Leftwich. I don't know.
Yeah, it could very well be a Byron Leftwich. And that's, that's like when you go hire a guy who's the head coach has been the offensive genius his entire life, and you got the greatest quarterback, active quarterback playing right now, it's hard to say, yeah, that's the guy. He's doing a great job. But that Eric Bieniemy knows how to scheme people open if he's been paying attention in the meetings for the past, what has he been there, 6-7 years with Andy? Maybe longer.
He's been there since 2013, I think, in various roles.
So I mean, he knows the template of the most creative coach in the league. So that's good.
Well, why don't we switch gears to a franchise that has a little bit more of a promise right now?
Yes,
in the Tampa Bay market.
Okay. Are you saying the Rays have more promise than the Bucs?
Is that even an argument at this point?
Not really.
Not really.
No.
Not
until we figure out what the hell the Bucs are doing.
One team I'm ready to kind of pencil them into the playoffs already. And the other team I can't pencil much in right now.
You're penciling in the Rays into the playoffs with that offense?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Well,
yes, I am.
12 teams do make.
Which, if you heard me yesterday, I made my arguments on that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, they reported yesterday pitchers and catchers to spring training in the beautiful ESPN wide world. It looks awesome, by the way.
That's great facility.
And we
Fantastic.
did among
like a major league ballpark.
Yeah, after we had the whole photo ops where I think Neander and Bendix were wearing the Mickey ears. I don't know if you saw that. Kevin Cash did not put on the Mickey ears. Good on him.
Thank you.
But the three did speak. And
I can definitely. That's going to become a meme.
It's going to become a meme at some point.
You can't do that.
But the three did speak, so I want to play this soundbite here. I believe it's Neander talking about the lack of additions to hitting this offseason.
Okay. Let's change this too.
So you couldn't hear that?
No,
right? It didn't come through your headphones?
It's on the wrong channel.
Yeah, wrong. It came through my headphones, though. So I'll summarize first for you because you hadn't heard it, I don't believe. He said they did exhaust every effort in the offseason so far to try to get a bat in here. It hasn't worked out. They're not putting a deadline on all this because it goes all the way up to July, obviously, which is what I said yesterday. At some point, it's got to happen between now and July, you'd have to think.
Right.
Because, again, we're thinking postseason success. And then he did mention, and I think he's being honest here in the mix of his, general manager speak, that we're going to afford a lot more opportunities to young guys that maybe we weren't exactly planning on. But they're trying to turn that into a positive. They're going to have this opportunity and all this stuff. So, yeah, I understand that. But again, ultimate goal that we've been talking about is winning in the postseason. And as currently constructed, we have our doubts a little bit how the offense is going to do that.
That's not their ultimate goal. Their ultimate goal is to make money. Okay, well, those guys are really cheap that they're playing. So
is it Neander? Is it Neander? But I'm talking about the front office. The front office.
Yeah.
I don't think it's their goal to make money. The front office wants to win.
Yes, they do, because their careers depend on it.
Okay,
they have to win.
If you gave the smarts in this front office, if you gave them $50 more million to play with, I mean, who knows what we're doing? We're talking.
Or winning
here.
World Series.
You're in the conversation. You're in.
Do you think
out.
Eric Neander wants to put together a team that doesn't have any bona fide experienced hitters in it?
And if you kind of read through Eric Neander, the way he's talking, he's kind of like he's like this little half smile going on. You can kind of tell like there's maybe moves that were out there that he wants to make, but he knows he's a little bit financially he's strapped.
Budget strapped.
He's budget strapped.
Yeah, by the organization, by Stu Sternberg, who has a higher priority of making money.
So it's going to force them to get creative like they always do. And listen, they're going to get creative and find guys in here that can do it, and I know they will. Just how much of is it going to catapult them to that next level? We saw it work in 2020.
Yeah.
Can it strike twice here?
Yeah. I mean, they've got to have everything's got to go right.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing with the Rays. When they get injuries or guys like Josh Lowe don't work out or Wander Franco gets injured or guys, you have one of your top hitters in Brandon Lau has a back injury. I mean, you're screwed. And that's what's going on with the Rays right now, or last year. Certainly, and they made the playoffs, which was good. And their pitching staff is so freaking good right now. It's going to actually afford them probably 85 wins right there. You just got to get over the top with some of the offense, and they'll make the playoffs. It looks like a pretty good bet, but how deep they can go in the postseason. And again, listen, you're probably going to be in a better position at the deadline to do something to add a hitter, and you'll also be able to see if any of these young hitters have panned out, right? Yeah. So that's the thing. Like, okay, let's just go into this. It's not a bad strategy. Let's see if hey, maybe Josh Lowe catches fire. Maybe this Franco stays healthy and he turns into a 30-40 home run guy. Maybe maybe Brandon Lau comes back and he's healthy and he's more consistent, and you're winning. So, okay, good on you. Now let's see what we need to add at the deadline. It makes more sense.
Yeah, and that's why I don't fault them for, like, a lot of the money that was spent in free agency this year. I don't fault the Rays necessarily for not getting in on some of these deals.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Because, again, it takes two to tango.
Yeah.
Guys got to want to come here, number one, and we know that's an issue.
For position players especially.
Number two, the money. Like, even a guy like Brandon Belt, who I kind of thought, if you want to get a first baseman, because I still believe there's no first baseman on the roster. And I hate just trying to teach guys how to play first base. Right. I hate that when it comes to first base. But like a Brandon Belt was a guy I wanted, and then I saw the number that he got in Toronto, and I'm like, that's just, even, I know that it doesn't sound like a lot of money, $9 million, but for what he's given you at his age, I'm like,
that's the going rate. Going rate.
But even if I'm the Rays, I'm just like that he comes like your highest paid hitter at that point. And I'm like, he's not that guy.
But you need, even if they're not, you got to have some of those guys for depth too, just to get an experienced bat, and that's the going rate. And that's what you just got to do to and think if the guy really has a good year, if he comes back and has a great year. It just I'm not terribly upset. I would have liked to seen them get one of those big time hitters, but again, they're not going to come here in free agency. They're just not.
No,
because we're not going to pay them, and they don't want to come here anyway. As long as we're still playing at the Trop. So
even the guys,
you got to make them come here, and the only way to do that is by trade.
Yeah, and even the guys, again, like I said, that I would have taken a chance on, like a Cody Bellinger at $17.5 million. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Well, for us at least, if you pay, but that's the problem. If you pay a guy $17.5 million, it precludes you from doing a lot of other things.
Yeah,
you've got that $80 million hard cap,
and that's a reclamation project
your owner.
That's a reclamation project as well that could completely fall flat on your face.
You can't. The Rays, with their extreme budgetary constraints that they put on themselves by the ownership, if for the GM to go out and spend that, is foolhardy. It's foolhardy. And so these other teams have the luxury of being able to pay these salaries, and if they don't work out, they still can pay other people. The Rays don't have that.
I'll tell you what needs to happen though, because I'm super excited for baseball season, because this is the first normal season we've had to start since 2019.
Right.
Because 2020 there was COVID. We had the shortened season, right? 2021 was a full season, but we were still beginning with COVID restrictions a little bit. So it wasn't really normal.
Right.
And then last year we had the lockout, so we started late. So this is the first real normal season since 2019. I'm very excited for it. You were telling me that you haven't been able to get into baseball mood season yet.
No.
You spend a lot of time in Orlando, my friend.
I should go
I think you need to make a day trip over to the Worldwide of Sports. Be around the guys a little bit. Interact. You wear your Rays stuff all the time in today. You got your Rays colors on today as well.
Security may have me thrown out.
You got to get in there.
They may have me thrown out, security.
Maybe we should mend relationships this year. Let's work on our relationship mending in 2023.
Kevin Cash, we and I get along great.
We'll go say hi. We'll go visit him. Then.
Okay.
Go visit him.
I will. We'll do that. All right. Tiger is. I want to get the USF stuff. So the stadium yesterday, the board of trustees, I believe it was yesterday, have approved $22 million for the design to go forward with the design of the on-campus stadium, 35,000 seat on-campus stadium. So they're going to spend significant money to design this. Will Weatherford saying on the board of trustees that they do not have a financing plan for it. But folks, that's not unusual, especially when you're dealing with a public university. There's money there. They can do it with investments on endowment. It's only, for a $300 million stadium, looking at $20 to $23 million a year in payments, which, for a university with a budget like that is not that big a deal. They can find it. They don't want to tell you now because it might not be politically palatable. And there has been a long standing positioned by the faculty on the USF campus that they're not big into sports and big sports expenditures. It's never been a priority. It wasn't under Judy Genshaft. So this is a different administration, and the faculty is going to have to get used to the fact they're going to spend some money on athletics because they feel like it's a big enough a priority for them. So I don't think they're going to have a problem finding the funding for a $300 million stadium. As crazy as that sounds, I think this is a pretty good sign that this is happening. So that's good. I think it's good. It ain't my money. I've always thought, they should be able to do it at Raymond James Stadium, but whatever. If you think that's what's best for you as a university, good on you. It worked for USF. San Diego State just built one. The places, UAB built one. These places, oh God.
Richie just said, did you see Golish's Valentine tweet yesterday? So let's go check it out. So he's obviously self-aware. He said, "Happy Valentine's Day. If you got it, ... chew it." And he has a picture of himself with "I choose you."
CHEWS.
Yes.
Because he's getting so much flack for looking amateurish on the big stage.
He's self-aware.
Chomping his
gum.
I
love it. Turn it into a positive marketing tool. There you go.
Okay.
I like it. You hate it, I know.
Just looks incredibly unprofessional when you're an icon like a Magic Johnson or I'm trying to, who was the coach that used to chew gum all the time? Really, was it Pat Riley? Pat Riley. When you're an icon, you can get away with it. And I don't recall Pat Riley chewing it and making it obnoxiously chewing it at the podium.
Alex Golish is going to be the head coach that takes USF out of the AAC into the Power 5. He'll be an icon in these parks before it's over with.
All righty then.
And that's not a prediction. That's a spoiler.
What does that even mean? All right. We had some fun today. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you missed anything, you can download our app, FanStream Sports, and listen to the show anytime. Just tap that app. It'll come up, and you can fast forward, reverse, do whatever you ever want, and listen to the show the way you want to, on demand. And that pops up every day at noon. You can also listen on Apple and Spotify as a podcast, and always on YouTube, and now on RHS TV. Download that app on your television, and you can watch the show and our past shows anytime you want. We'll be back tomorrow with more fun and frivolity. We'll see you then. Have a great day, everybody.